Hello, family, and welcome to another episode of Role Model Experts Cafe. I'm your host, Dr. L, the Parent Whisperer. And today with me, I have an amazing lady. I've had the privilege of knowing her for a few years now, and she is amazing wherever she goes. Her message is amazing. The content she has is amazing. I can't say enough good things about her. Miss Karen Tui Boys. Did I say that correctly, Karen?
You did. Thank you.
Very cool. So Karen comes from New Zealand. So she has amazing information, but also she gives you different perspective. So for most of our audience that is in the Northern Hemisphere. Karen, please share with us a little bit about what you do, how you got involved in what you do, and why this is something that's important for parents to consider.
Thank you, Dr. L. I love speaking to you, and hello, parents. Yes, I am in New Zealand. We affectionately call this down under. So we're at the bottom of the world, literally. And so, yeah, maybe you get a different perspective when you're the underdog, when you're looking up. I don't know. So, look, about myself, I have been blessed to know that my purpose on this planet was to teach. I've known that my entire life. There was no reason for me to know, nothing that happened that went, I just want to do that. I knew I was here to teach, but I also knew something else. I knew that I was to be an entertainer. In fact, I was, and she's unfortunately just passed on. I was a recruit, a fan, a fangirl of Olivia Newton-John. And all I wanted to do was to teach and to be able to sing and wear those leather pants, the sandy pants, So I have always known that. So my background is I became a teacher, and but in that teaching career, I realized two things happening very quickly. One was that children would come into school with that light in their eyes, with that zest for learning, that excitement for life, and I started to see it die. And I went, what is happening? What are we doing that's actually killing the very thing we want, which is the love of learning? The second thing I saw was, or I found out, was at university, I was trained on what to teach, not how to teach. So, I mean, how can we not understand the brain and understand learning? Because that is an integral part of being able to learn and love learning. So I left teaching, and it's a shocking 28 years ago now. I know I started when I was 3. So I left teaching so I could make a difference. So now I do get to travel the world. I get to teach, I get to entertain on the stage, and I get to wear the leather pants. So it's all very exciting. So that's what inspired me to do what I do.
That's awesome. I adore your message and the way you deliver it. It's beautiful. And I believe that you actually have some things behind you that are actually very integral to your message and your entertainment and your teaching and everything. So tell us a little bit more, because love of learning is something that is so foundational for having zest in life and continue to develop as an individual. And we don't want to just go to school and say, I'm glad I'm done with that part, right? I know that I used to say that when I was finishing up with school. So it's really important to have that. So tell us a little bit more about that challenge and how to overcome it.
Yeah, so a couple of things. One, if you were walking down the beach, Dr. L, and I'm going to ask the parents to think about this too, who are watching. If you were walking down the beach and you saw one of those shiny lamps, like the genie in the bottle lamp, on the sand, and you picked it up and you rubbed it, and a genie came out, and the genie said, you have one wish. It could be anything you want. There is no limits on the wish, but there's only one wish. What would you wish for, Dr. L? Parents, what would you wish for? What would you? Do you
That's
know?
a good question. I would at first say love of learning, but then I'm a naturally curious person. So I experience and learning experientially is high on my list. But health would be the other one. Yeah.
Yes, well, I've asked this question 1,000 times around the world, and the most common answer I get is a million wishes. which makes sense, right? There's no limits. You ask for a million wishes. But if I had the genie in the bottle and I could ask for one wish and one wish only, it would be the ability to learn, having that lifelong learning. My children tell me this means loser, Mum, but I think it says lifelong learning. And that ability to be able to keep learning your whole entire life, because it doesn't stop when you leave school. It doesn't stop when you've got a job. It's continually learning, because the world is changing very, very quickly. So this topic's important because I also see a couple of things. I see children being told, teenagers being told to go home and learn that, but they're not taught how to. Go home and study for the test, but no one's taught them how to study. So we need to change this. We need to make sure children understand learning and that we understand learning as well. And I have 4 categories that I see students fall into, no matter what age, whether I'm working with young children, whether I'm working with teenagers, or whether I'm working with the MBA students at college, at university. So the 4 categories are, first of all, you might find yourself in avoidance. And by the way, as adults, we do this too. We do everything rather than do the thing we need to do. And so your child is in avoidance when they would rather do housework than their homework or their study. You know that your child is in avoidance when, my daughter says, I'm going to make chocolate brownie today. And I'm like, I know she's avoiding something that she should actually be doing. The second stage we find our students in is anxiety, where they get really anxious about, what if I fail? What if I can't do this? What if I'm not as intelligent as they say I am? The what ifs? And they're worried about the future and worried about not being able to live up to someone's expectations. The third one is when you're aware but don't care. Now, you're in this category when it's like, oh, I've got enough credits, I don't need to do any more learning. Or I know I'm going to pass the exam, so why bother studying? And so they are aware of what has to happen, but they don't care about getting the better marks or doing more and putting effort into the process. And then the final category is the achiever category. And you're in the achiever category when you're balancing your work, your life, your study, you're getting the results you want, and it's not a chore. You enjoy getting down to study, you enjoy learning, and you know how to learn. So the question I ask parents and students is, in those 4 categories, can you spot where your child is, and is there a gap between where they are and where you would like them to be? Because that's what I do. I bridge that gap, and I teach people how to move from the avoidance, the anxiety, the aware but don't care, into the achiever category.
Karen, I feel like you are that bridge between everything that's wrong with the educational system and where we want our kids to be, right?
Well, I think I am, but I'm just not getting out to enough people to make a bigger change.
All right. Well, we'll do our best with our audience members, but yeah, absolutely. I mean, if people are having difficulty motivating their kids, and I see this a lot, or I hear this a lot, it's like, how do I get my kid to listen? How do I get my kid to be interested? And this is a big challenge. And there's so much conflicting noise that comes at the kids, the distractions and everything. So what are some of the tips that you have for our parents so that they can actually start implementing, or at least moving their children in that direction where they want the kids to be?
Yeah. Absolutely. So one of the first things is that we learn through failure. We have to make mistakes to learn, but somehow the education system started punishing us for making mistakes, for not being good enough. And this has gone on to be a thing that's all around the world, that we are scared of making mistakes. So the number one thing I say to parents and to students is, mistakes is how we learn, and therefore the most important study tip I could ever teach is to learn what you don't know. Now, what most people do is go and study or learn what they know because it makes you feel good.
Right.
I've asked you this before, Dr. L, but are you a list writer?
I am
Do you
not, but
No.
I do like to cross things off.
Yes, yes. So, see, for the parents listening, if you're a list writer, have you ever written a to-do list and then you've gone to cross something off and it's not on your list? Well, what happens is we write it on just so we can cross it off. There's no logical reason for this, but there is a physiological reason. Because when we cross something off our list, what happens is it sends endorphins and chemicals through our brain that makes us feel good. So what happens for our kids, they come home and they start practicing the spelling words they can already do because it makes them feel good. Gosh, I'm clever. Gosh, I'm smart. I'm amazing. And they practice what they can already do because they get those great chemicals going through their body. But when they start practicing the things they can't do, so learning what they don't know, that's hard. And what happens is the internal voice changes and we start saying, maybe I'm not as smart as I thought I am. Maybe I'm not as good at this. What if I fail? What if I don't live up to those expectations? And those what ifs and that anxiety and that avoidance and the aware but don't care start to come up just because we aren't, well, we were sold a lie. Our kids were sold a lie. We were sold a lie when we went to school because somebody told us, go to school, it will be fun. Learning is not always fun. Learning is hard. It is difficult. And another phrase that I often say is, everything is hard before it is easy. Think about your children learning to walk. It was hard. They got up, they fell down, they got up, they fell down. But how many times did you celebrate the little tiny wins or the effort? It was the effort that you were celebrating. I don't think we've got any kids who went, that's it, I've fallen over 20 times, I'm never going to learn to walk. They just kept going and we kept encouraging them. But as we get older, we forget to use that same encouragement. So encourage the effort, know that it's going to be hard, let them know it's going to be hard, and it's part of the normal process.
What I love about this is that it teaches us this very important thing that long before there is cognition, there is thought processes that can override your feelings, the feelings that I'm not good at this, the feeling of anxiety and the pain and the hardness of learning. And children are actually particularly susceptible to this because their frontal cortex is not developed yet. So they're emotional beings. If something doesn't bring them pleasure, they don't want to do it. So understanding this process that you're describing is very foundational, because you get to right then and there go to the emotional centers and address it emotionally.
Yeah,
So
and not just kids. I don't want to do stuff that's hard. I don't want to do stuff that's boring. I don't want to do, as adults, we're the same. We're programmed the same, right?
right,
But we
exactly.
have to know that when we do the hard, we get to the easy. And you
Right.
don't get there without going through that hard, that difficult, that challenging.
Right. Awesome. Well said. So Karen, I know that our time is always short on these brief interviews and everything, and you have tons of content. So how can people find out more about you and connect with you?
Yeah, thank you. So you can just simply go to our website, www.spectrumeducation.com. And there you will find a parent portal, a student portal, a teacher portal, and you can go through those and you can find out so many of the different things and programs that we run.
Right. This is something that truly takes the resistance out of learning, and really makes it something that is a process that's enjoyable, even though the learning part might in itself be difficult. The process is enjoyable and it's beautiful to watch. Children are oftentimes so wrapped in the process and going through that process that we really need to nurture that. So thank you for doing what you do. And I'm really jealous of the fact that you have always known that you want to be an entertainer and an educator, because it took me a long time to figure that out for myself. So there should be more people like you. So thank you.
It doesn't matter when you come to it, as long as you come to it at some point.
True that. So any final words for our audience members before we finish our session today?
I think for parents, when you're thinking about learning for your children, it is lifelong. And every child learns at a different rate, at a different time, in a different way. And know that, particularly if you have more than one child, because, the first one usually is the easier one, and the second one is just like, what the heck? So reach out, ask for help, and if you're confused, if you're not sure, read, learn every day something that's going to help you as a parent and help your kids.
Beautifully said. Guys, I'm going to put the information regarding Karen's contact and social media and everything else for you in the description box. So be sure to check that, connect. This is something that's going to save you time, save you aggravation, and make your kids lead a happier and fuller life as well, and continue to learn and cherish the love of learning. So definitely take her up on that offer. If you haven't already done so, make sure you click subscribe on the channel as well, so you get notified of the latest experts, the expertise they bring to the channel, as well as the gifts that they share with us. And until next time, see you later. Thanks, Karen, for doing what you do. I appreciate
My
it.
pleasure.
Cheers.